Hi, this is Ellie Mae with Swift Creek Customs, and I know the big question out there right now with the release of the Siser Juliet cutting machine is, should I get a Siser Juliet? So I want to give you some things to think about. Now, the first thing I want to express is that all of this is my opinions only. I have worked and am working closely with Cesar. They are very receptive to the feedback, and I am on the beta testing team. I have been testing Siser Juliet for several weeks as of the recording of this video. The purpose that I want to bring to you from that is, with my experience in cutting machines in my background for the last 17 plus years, I've worked with several different machines. And for the last 6, I have been dedicated and teach full-time as a silhouette instructor. In that, I have become one of the top troubleshooters. So I want to bring some thinking points to you based on my experience with the troubleshooting part of it, as well as coming from the craft cutter side of things. So I want to give you some things to think about. Now I'm going to be glancing to the right a little bit in this video because I have some notes, because I tried to compose some of the questions in advance so that I'd be able to keep on track for you. Now, first off, this video is not to convince you to buy a Siser Juliet. This video is to give you some points to think about in your decision making on whether Siser Juliet is a cutting machine that will work for you. Over the past couple weeks of testing, I have just jotted down some notes and jotted down some questions to ask you when you are considering a new cutting machine. Now, these are questions that I personally do not need the answers to. If you would like to discuss them further in the comments below in this video, feel free to put your comments below and give your feedback, and we can talk about it, we can discuss it, or I will give you, again, it's my opinion coming from my background. I really want you to feel comfortable in your purchase if you do decide to purchase a Siser Juliet cutting machine, or in the path that you are going to take. So I'm going to give you a few questions to think about. If you already know the answer to all the questions on if you need a Siser Juliet machine, then check out the links in the description below. I have links to where you can find her currently as of the recording of this video. She has just been released at Michael's stores, and you can find her online, and other retailers in the US in November. Other countries will be dependent on their shipping laws, duties, customs, all of that kind of stuff. So the dates that are released in other countries could vary, and there are multiple factors that play into that. So I know a little bit of the back end of it, but it's more than just to push a button and hope that it's in the office in order to ship out. So with that, let's get started. The first question I want you to ask yourself is, why do you want a new cutting machine? Are you a professional cutting machine owner who's looking for a machine that has a smaller footprint that would be able to be on your desktop? Are you a craft cutting machine owner that is looking to move up? Has your business grown? Are you looking to add machines? Have you been looking and considering a more professional style cutter, but don't want to spend the money to invest in one of those larger plotting machines? Or are you just an occasional user? All of those questions would be a factor into whether Siser Juliet would be good for you. Now, I have been asked many times on a comparison so far of silhouette versus the Siser Juliet. At this time, when I'm looking at it, there are so many different factors to be able to control in putting a side-by-side comparison. A lot of it is user experience. I could do a comparison, but trying to get those control factors the exact same for both machines is a little bit more difficult. At this time, I don't want to do a side-by-side comparison. There are a few things I do want to mention that are a little bit different about Siser Juliet. I will post links in the description below to my setup videos. The blade installation is different. Setting the blade depth is different in Siser Juliet. It is more like a professional machine, and you are the one that controls it. You're going to see a theme here in just a second. Loading the mat and the materials is a bit different than a craft cutter. It is more like a professional machine as well. And where you leave that blade housing is where your cut is going to start. So it does take a little bit to get used to. Now, if you are a professional cutting machine owner, you are going to have less, in my opinion, you are going to have less of a learning curve with Siser Juliet than if you are a craft cutter. Now, craft cutting machine is what we're talking about when you hear that term, is a Silhouette, a Cricut, or Brother Cut and Scan. Those types of machines are typically called craft cutters. A lot of the things are done for you. Most of it's automatic. So the biggest difference here is going to be you. You are in charge of Siser Juliet. You and Romeo when he's released. You are in charge of setting your own blade depth according to the materials that you are using. You are in charge of test cuts. They are going to be your best friend with this machine, even more than with the craft cutting machines. You are in charge of where you load that material and where you leave that blade housing. Again, where you leave that blade housing is going to be where it starts to cut. It doesn't matter what it shows on your screen in relation on your cutting mat. The two things that I have noticed, and again, I'm not doing a side-by-side comparison. The two things I have noticed that are the biggest difference from my background with Silhouette and even with the Cricut machines that I've seen. It's been a lot of years since I've used the Cricut, but I do have experience there. Speed. Juliet is zippy, and you'll hear me say that in my videos. She cuts really fast. I've only had her turned up to a speed of 13, and that's when I'm cutting cardstock, which I've been testing quite a bit. But 13 is pretty darn fast for the cut to go through. Now, again, it's going to be very difficult to compare machines that are created and manufactured in different years. There's different technology. And putting the speed side by side, a speed 13 on Juliet is not going to be the same as a speed 13 on a Cameo. It's just not. Or a Cameo 4 at least. And then the older models, it even varies even more. So the other thing that I've noticed with Siser Juliet is with the print and cut, or when you bring images in. Leonardo Design Studio is the software program that is used, and here's a glimpse of it. It's been in my background. It is the software that is used to cut with Siser Juliet. And when you do that, when you open a file outside of this software, it asks you certain things, and I'll just go up here. But if you import a file, let me get rid of this one. That's from the library. If I import a file, and these are just some stickers that I used in a print and cut video, I'm going to open this one. It's going to give you some options. So in Leonardo Design Studio, it traces differently than it does in, say, the Silhouette Studio software. So you have a little bit more control. So far, I am really liking this. You have more options, and it's automatic. Even if I choose, and I will put a link in the description below to my print and cut as well. You can see here it puts that outline around that transparent PNG. So it's really simple. It walks you through it. So Leonardo Design Studio is user-friendly, just click buttons. You can download the software to test it before you even get the machine if you'd like to, and just play around with it. Because in all honesty, that is, when I was asked by Cesar, that's how we learn. That's how we learn as beta testers. There's no videos out there for us to look at when we first start testing something new. It doesn't matter what company you are with. It doesn't matter, before a product has been released, there's not how-to videos that have been created yet because we're testing it. We're seeing what can happen. We're also giving feedback based on our experiences And the beta testing group is a wide variety of users. So we have users who are Cricut and Silhouette and more professional cutters. So we're all giving our feedback towards the team in what works, what doesn't work, what we'd like to see, those kind of things. So one of the features that I do like here is how it traces these images. It's very simple, very, very simple. So, you know, that is one of the comparisons, one of the things. But there are things in every single software program that are pros and cons. So it really is going to be something. Leonardo Design Studio is going to be a program that grows. It is not coming into the market to replace any graphics programs or design programs that you currently have. It is coming into the market to simply use with Siser Juliet and allow you to cut with her. Now, you can do regular cuts, you can do print and cut with Siser Juliet. All the other craft machines do that as well too. The other major difference that I will reference here between a craft cutting machine and the Siser Juliet is in the print and cut process. So if I'll just finish this right here. You do have registration marks that you have a little bit more flexibility with in where you place those or how close they are to your image. Siser Juliet has a camera built into her that looks for those registration marks. So this is one way that you can get a more accurate print and cut in the testing that we've done, because that camera is looking for those marks versus other machines that are using an optical eye. Now, I can get a perfect print and cut with a Silhouette Cameo machine. I've always been able to get perfect print and cuts. I rarely have an issue. A lot of the times, it is the setup. When we're troubleshooting any issue, it is the setup of the file or the design. We can usually pinpoint with troubleshooting. Sometimes it takes a while because we have to see what you're seeing. So coming from a troubleshooting aspect, the Siser Juliet is going to be a machine that the biggest factor in the entire equation is you. You will need to learn the machine. You will need to learn how to set the blade depth for the materials you are using. You will need to learn how to change the blade depth if you change materials. You will need to train yourself to do test cuts. I know we want to just get to quickly cutting that project, but test cuts are very, very important. And you will need to train yourself on how to load the mat and materials properly and set where Juliet's going to start cutting. So the biggest factor is if you are ready to learn and to learn correctly on this machine. Now, Siser Juliet, and in my talks with Cesar, I've talked to quite a few people there. They've been very helpful, very nice. I've enjoyed working with them. In my talks with them, one of the biggest things that jumped out at me is that they are not coming into the market with Siser Juliet and Romeo in order to compete with other cutters. Cesar is a company that uses multiple machines. Their products are designed to be used with multiple machines, all the way from the smallest craft cutter up to a more professional, large, huge machine. So I'll show you a glimpse here of our tour of Cesar Italy. We were in the testing room. We got to tour their headquarters, but we were in the testing room in the headquarters in Italy, and their testing room was amazing. They had, I didn't even count, but I should have 15 to 20 plus different cutting machines just to test their products with. And that was all across the room. So here are a couple photos of each of the corner of the room because I couldn't get them all in the photos that I took. So you not only have printers, you have different brands of printers in this room, but you also have different brands of cutting machines. And as we walked through the room, I walked over to the one side, they have huge commercial plotters. So Cesar caters to a wide variety of users. They're not trying to come in and compete with this cutter. They're trying to bridge a gap. And the gap that they're trying to bridge is from a craft cutter to a more professional cutter. There is a gap there in price difference and in the size. So they're coming into that market and trying to fill that gap. Is Siser Juliet going to be for everyone? I've been asked this all the time. First off, they're not trying to compete with other cutting machines. That's the first thing that me personally, I got from that. So I wanted to share that. Second off, I honestly do not believe that this cutting machine is for everybody. Can anyone learn how to use this cutting machine? The answer is yes. I feel that any single person could learn how to use Siser Juliet successfully. But in my troubleshooting, there are users who do not want to learn how the machine works and how to use it properly. If you want to be able to sit down at your machine and push a button and have everything magically turn out 100% of the time without learning how to use the machine, then you're going to be frustrated. It is a machine that's designed that anyone can use it, but I don't think that it's going to be for everyone. I'm enjoying playing with Siser Juliet because I enjoy a challenge. I'm coming from the craft cutter side, so I do have those learning curves that I have mentioned in how the blade gets set, in how to load your materials, and where the machine's going to cut. So I've had mistakes. I have sent it to cut without a mat in the machine or the material because I am learning. I am getting used to it. We're all going to be learning this machine at the same time. And at the moment that I'm recording this video, there are no experts out there. The most experienced people in the industry with Siser Juliet are the Cesar employees. Even though I've been using Siser Juliet and Leonardo Design Studio for several weeks now, I'm not an expert. I'm still learning. I'm still pushing buttons. I'm still finding out what works. And I'm also reporting things that either don't work well or that I feel is a bug or something has come up. I have several years of experience with testing and with the beta testing with software and things like that. So I bring it up. Sometimes there's an easy fix. Like I just simply glanced over where I needed to look for that tool. I've mentioned it before, but, and again, please take this. This is my opinion coming from the years of experience with cutting machines and just my testing. But I think the hardest part is going to be for those users coming from the craft cutter side of the world or who have a craft cutter. If you're just a general user, then your current cutting machine is probably working just fine for you. If you are looking to expand, you're looking for a challenge, you're looking to learn something new, or you're looking to bridge that gap. You've considered a more professional cutting machine, but you don't want to quite invest in the funds that it takes for one of those commercial machines. Then Siser Juliet might be just perfect for you. So bottom line is, do you have what it takes to learn Siser Juliet? It is not hard. It really is not. But you will be the deciding factor. You will need to take the time to learn it. She's not hard to learn. Leonardo Design Studio is not hard to learn. Leonardo Design Studio, I will link below. There's going to be a lot of links in the description below, but I'll link below my initial tour of the Leonardo Design Studio when it was first launched as of October 16th, 2022. And that'll give you a glimpse into it if you haven't already downloaded it. But it is not hard. Leonardo Design Studio will grow. It's going to grow. It's going to have new tools. It's going to have new features. But for now, when it's released, it is your basic cutting software. I love it. I love that it's basic. If it's basic, there's less that can go wrong. So I love that. I really do. And they're building it on a very sound foundation. So I really like that. Now, everyone learns differently. Some learn by watching, some learn by doing, some learn by both. So really is up to you. If you want to follow along with me as I learn this machine, I'll be sharing some things. Make sure to like and subscribe, click the little bell for notifications. But really, the bottom line is it's going to take time to learn something new. It takes time to learn something new no matter what it is in your life. Whether it's riding a bike, whether it's driving a car, whether it's learning a new software program, whether it's learning a new cutting machine. It all takes time. How you approach Siser Juliet will determine the success you have with it. I've made mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. I'm not going to lie about that. You will make mistakes. You will make cutting mistakes. You will cut with your blade depth too deep. You know, you might as well just get that right out there. Tell yourself that in the beginning and give yourself grace. Be patient with yourself as you are learning a new technique, a new skill, and a new program. Now, those are just a few of the questions that I've thought about and written down when I'm working with Siser Juliet. Again, all of this is my own opinion. I really like it. I'm not going to do a comparison video at this moment, maybe in the future, but it also doesn't mean I'm giving up on my silhouette machines. I enjoy having new tools and new things in the studio to learn, and I have enjoyed playing with the Siser Juliet cutting machine. The biggest thing I wanted to bring to you here is just some thinking points. Think about why you would want a Siser Juliet. Some of you may already want it, and some of you may just want it because it's new. I think it's a great machine. I think you have more control over it, which is a big factor for me because I like to control things. Just ask my husband. I like to have control of things. I like to be able to control my blade depth. If it's not working, I can change that. I like to be able to save my files outside of the software. I can do that with Leonardo Design Studio. I just like to try new things, and I like to be able to share those with people. I hope that the videos on my YouTube with Swift Creek Customs are information for you to be able to use and to learn how to use your cutting machine. We'll also be bringing other projects to you as well. So thank you for joining me. I hope that helps in making your decision. Check out the links in the description below for a lot more information on the Siser Juliet and where you can find her. Thank you. Have a great day.